So the MVP race is kind of heating up as the end of the year comes around. At this point, it's pretty much a three-way race between Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. Some people are now saying that you should throw Booker into that conversation as well, and also Jason Tatum. Some people brought up Luka as well, but I think those three guys either have like some big hole in their case. Either in Booker's case, just not enough production. 27-5-5 is impressive, but compared to some of the other guys, it hails in comparison, even though their record's a lot better. For Luka, he's probably been one of, if not the best player since the break, but over the course of the whole season, I'm not sure. His efficiency looks really bad compared to a lot of the top candidates, and his team's doing pretty well, but mostly that efficiency is what's going to hold him back. I think he's shooting like 45% from the field, compared to like Jokic and Giannis. That's pretty bad. And then for Tatum, same thing. I think it just goes for like the whole season. Like he's probably been one of, if not the best player over the last month, 2 months. March, he had a great March. I mean, it's still March, but he's averaging like 35 on like 55% shooting or something crazy like that. But, I think when you consider the whole year, he falls short a little bit. Again, the numbers aren't like overwhelming to where you would choose him, whereas they would be with a guy like Luka. And I want to bring up Embiid because I just don't see why he's in that conversation. Like, I could be, I don't know why I'd be biased. I mean, I have nothing against Embiid. I never have. I've liked him in the past. But, I mean, the only argument for him is that he's going to score more than everybody else. He's going to probably end up with more points per game average than the other guys, though he might not win the scoring title. I mean, it's him and LeBron, and Giannis is in that conversation as well. He might end up getting it. And, I mean, his defensive stats look nice, but, he's not really in that. I mean, he might be in that all-defensive conversation, but he's not in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation like a guy like Giannis. His playmaking hails in comparison to a guy like Jokic, and, the team success isn't on par with a guy like Booker, to where, I just don't see why he's, like, at that level to where they say it's, like, a big three. Like, to me, I mean, Embiid could win it, but people are saying that, like, he will win it. Like, I don't see that. I don't think the numbers are overwhelming enough to say that he should be in that conversation as, like, one of the top two guys, who, in my opinion, I think are Giannis and Jokic. But honestly, I just think it should be Giannis. I like Jokic a lot. I really do. I like how I thought he should have won it last year, and I think that was pretty obvious. And I really like his play style. What he's done for Denver with the team that he has around him, no Jamal Murray, no MPJ, it's been pretty impressive. And a lot of people say that, like, oh, they're the 6th seed. They might end up with the 7th seed even. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't win the MVP. I think you look at the record, like, they're 2.5 games back from Milwaukee and Philly as of right now, as of this recording. So, like, that's not enough of a difference, in my opinion, to say that their record is substantially worse. It is worse, and they might end up with, like, a 6th seed, which doesn't look great for an MVP resume, but, to say that his team has been bad, I mean, he's, like, the only good player on that team. He's, like, the only, like, playoff starter caliber player on that team. Him and maybe Aaron Gordon. Will Barton's been good as well. Monty Morris as well, but, it's been the Jokic show. So, with all due respect to Jokic, and I know that the advanced stats favor him, but in my opinion, it just should be Giannis. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't take into account when it comes to MVP voting is that it's a two-way game, right? Like, the game is 50% defense. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, this guy's a good defender, but they just think that is, like, an extra addition to his game. Like, oh, this guy's a good passer. Oh, this guy's a good rebounder. Like, oh, he's a good defender. Like, people don't realize that defending is half of the game. And so let's say, let's just do this hypothetically. Let's say if we were to give grades out of 100 for both these guys, Giannis and Jokic. Let's say Giannis offensively, I mean, he's very close to winning a scoring title. He's averaging 30, 12, and 6. He's been good as a passer. His free throw shooting's even improved, which should be scary for teams that are making the playoffs. Let's say we give him like a 93 on offense. He could. I'd give Jokic like a 95. I think he's been the better offensive player in terms of his playmaking, his scoring, what he has around him. Giannis has a lot of better players around him. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday have been great this year. But So I'd give Jokic a 95 on offense. I'd give Giannis like a 93, 94, somewhere in there. Then defensively, Jokic has had a good season defensively, but I mean, he's not really in that like defensive player of the year conversation, not in that all defensive first team, maybe second team. I haven't looked too much into like what people are saying, but he averages a lot of steals, but Jokic has always been a weaker rim protector. He's not very mobile. He's not super switchable. So, defensively, I'd give him like an 85 out of 100. Whereas Giannis, everything I just said, Giannis is a great rim protector. Giannis is very switchable. He's very lengthy. He's very quick. So I'd give him, a lot of people are saying he might win Defensive Player of the Year. He's at the very least top 3. I know NBA put that out a while back, and I would agree just watching him play. So I'd put him as like a 93 or a 94 on the defensive side of the ball as well. And when you take that into account, when you consider that defense is half the game, I don't see why Giannis isn't just the overwhelming MVP favorite, with no disrespect to Jokic whatsoever. But his team has a better record. Although he does have better teammates around him, he's been very good when he's been there. They've been average when he hasn't been there. So, he's definitely been a massive impact to that team. He has the offensive stats. I mean, he's averaging almost 30 a game and 6 assists. Like, that's on great efficiency. He's shooting 55% from the field. Like, that's great offensive stats. Defensively, he might win Defensive Player of the Year, which I don't think people are going to take into account in terms of MVP, though I think they should. So, yeah. I mean, I like Jokic. I think Embiid's a great player. Booker, Tatum, Luka. LeBron as well has had an amazing year. Steph when he was healthy. Durant, obviously, when he's been healthy. They're a completely different team in Brooklyn. But for my money, the MVP is Jokic, or is Giannis. And so, yeah.